Right now, on to the point. The sudden passing of Congressman Doug LaMalfa. As tributes pour in tonight, what's next for his seat in Washington?
Republicans need every vote they can.
Growing controversy tonight, 5 years after the deadly attack on the nation's capital. Did the Trump administration rewrite the events of January 6th? World leaders pushing back tonight as President Trump hints at new targets following the Venezuela operation. And nearly 1 year after the deadly LA wildfires, the new hope for survivors and to help families rebuild and stay in their homes. Flags are flying half-staff tonight following the death of California Congressman Doug LaMalfa. Governor Gavin Newsom called for flags at the state capitol to be flown at half-staff. The White House also lowering their flags to honor the late congressman. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Alex Bell. Many of us woke up this morning to the news of LaMalfa's sudden passing at the age of 65. According to the Butte County Sheriff's Office, the congressman experienced a medical emergency last night and died during a surgical procedure. Republican Doug LaMalfa represented California's District 1, which includes most of the northern part of the state. LaMalfa was a fourth-generation rice farmer. He served in the California State Assembly and Senate before moving to the national stage. As we will show you a little bit later in the show, Congressman LaMalfa was recently campaigning against Proposition 50, the state's temporary redrawing of its congressional maps to favor Democrats. Though his seat was likely up for grabs next election, he was adamant about running again. Today at the state capitol, Republicans reacted to the loss.
He was Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. He was a rice farmer. He really fought for rural California. We talked as recently about a week ago about him continuing to run for a fight for rural California and run for re-election even after the Prop 50 news came out.
This loss is it's devastating for us. He was doing an amazing job getting to know his new constituents. The politics are going to happen.
And the Republican Party emphasized that right now is a time for mourning, but they will have to soon consider who the best successor to LaMalfa would be. Tonight, Governor Newsom also sharing his condolences, saying in part, quote, "While we often approached issues from different perspectives, he fought every day for the people of California with conviction and care. He will be deeply missed." Democratic Congressman John Garamendi also remembering LaMalfa today, saying in a statement, part quote, "Douglas LaMalfa was a close friend and a colleague who cared deeply about the farmers in his district, as well as the extraordinary natural resources of Northern California." He went on to say, "Together for a decade, we represented the great Sacramento Valley, where I was proud to work with him on several bipartisan pieces of legislation in the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee to secure critical water infrastructure investments, advocate for California farmers, and safeguard the Sacramento River watershed." President Donald Trump also remembering the late congressman today.
He was the leader of the Western Caucus, a fierce champion on California water issues. He was great on water. He wanted to release the water, he'd scream at him. And a true defender of American children. He was a defender of everybody. And our hearts go out to his wife, Jill, and his entire family.
As for what comes next politically, we spoke with Republican and Democratic strategists today about the various possibilities. ABC 10's Becca Habegger joins us live in studio to discuss what voters could see.
Yeah, Alex, Governor Newsom's office tells ABC 10 that by law, the governor will have to call for a special election sometime within the next 14 days. But his office isn't saying when he might plan to hold that election, and the timing has political impacts.
With Congressman LaMalfa's death, the balance of power in the U.S. House of Representatives stands at 218 Republicans and 213 Democrats. That's why Democratic strategist Steve Maviglio and Republican strategist Tim Rosales both say a lot rides on the refilling of LaMalfa's seat.
I think that neither party wants to give up the possibility of a seat, and particularly a seat like this. And given this dynamic that we have now, I do think and expect Republicans to compete for it kind of in the near term for the special election, because there are several important votes and things that come up all the time.
So it's up to the governor. He could probably call an election in March, I think might be the earliest date, and then perhaps have the runoff in June. That's possible, but not probable.
Maviglio says Governor Newsom might stall the special election as long as possible to avoid giving the seat back to a Republican.
LaMalfa was always a very solid Republican vote for the speaker on everything. So if the governor can push this out so the Democrats have a little bit more of an advantage, I think he will do that.
One possibility is Governor Newsom aligns the special election primary with the midterm primaries in June. It's also possible Newsom aligns the actual special election with the regular midterms in November. So whoever wins the special election could serve as little as about a month before the candidate elected in the midterms gets sworn in next January. In other words, the voters in LaMalfa's congressional district may go without representation for most of 2026.
Really, who loses, and I think who is going to bear the brunt of this, obviously, are the people who live in that district.
As for who will run, Rosales says, from a strategic standpoint, it makes sense that anyone wanting to run in the midterms also throws their hat in for this special election.
It's an opportunity in a couple of ways. One is, I think, the financial thresholds and the money that they can raise for each election expands. So with the financial limits that you have in a federal race, it really elevates the amount of money that they can potentially raise and then potentially spend in terms of advertising.
And it might not attract a lot of top tier Republicans because it's a seat that they'll only hold literally for months. So it might be somebody who's well advanced in their career, but to spend that kind of money and energy for a seat that's not going to be theirs for very long, or would have to pull out a miraculous upset under the new district lines, that's a tough call for somebody to make.
As you know, California voters passed Prop 50, which will redraw congressional district lines to favor Democrats, starting with the midterms. So voters in the special election will be those in the current District 1, which leans Republican. The redrawn District 1 is designed to lead Democratic. We'll learn within the next 2 weeks when that special election will be held.
All right, Becca, thank you so much for that. And we are continuing the conversation now. We are joined by our political expert, Chris McKeely. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. Unfortunate, though, for the circumstances. I do want to ask you, because as Becca was mentioning, with all the election conversations, this could get really confusing for voters, especially if they see two different names in two different places on their ballot. So talk to me about what voters should really know coming up.
Well, they have the opportunity perhaps in the June primary, assuming that the governor calls the special election at that time, that they would cast two votes, one to fill the remainder of Congressman LaMalfa's term through January of next year, and then to do a new 2-year election for a new candidate. It could be the same individual, it could be somebody else.
Now, we've heard a lot of Democratic names coming out saying that they would have run against Doug LaMalfa, but we haven't really seen a lot of Republicans. I know that obviously the party was really supporting him as the incumbent there, but now with his passing, has there been any mentions or any names kind of rolling around out there that might, for the Republican side, step into this role?
Well, I think first they're going to go through a little bit of a period of mourning, but some names that have been tossed about include the current Assembly member, the former Republican leader, James Gallagher, perhaps former state senator Brian Daly, who covered a lot of that congressional district in his state Senate time. So those are names that we've heard, but of course no one officially has come out.
Now, would it be possible, I know we've talked about District 3, Kevin Kiley's district. Do you think at all there would be a chance that he would jump, because he hasn't announced yet what district he is going to run in, but to jump from District 3 to maybe District 1, or you don't think that's a likely possibility?
Well, it's always possible.
Remember that,
yes, but remember that the U.S. Constitution only requires somebody running for the U.S. House to be a resident of the state of California, not of a particular congressional district.
So they don't have to live in the district that they represent.
That's correct. And so it is possible, I would assume more likely he would stay in this geographic area. I'm sure we'll see one or more Republicans ultimately announce after a certain period of time. Remember, the governor hasn't even called that special election, so we're not sure the exact timing of it.
Chris McKeely, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
All right, and our team recently spent time in Congressman LaMalfa's district. In September, I went to his ranch to talk about Prop 50 and many other things, like what people think about him. Because one thing was absolutely clear when we spent time in the area. There were people that loved him, and I do not say that lightly. When I would ask people, what do you think about the job Representative LaMalfa has done? They would go, oh, Doug? Yeah, Doug, we love Doug. And, you know, to many people in his district, he was more than a congressman. He was one of them, a fourth-generation farmer, a father, a grandfather. So here's a candid moment from our interview that never aired until now. Do you think a lot of people in your district see you in themselves?
I hope so.
Yeah.
You know, the logo my campaign people came up with was "He's one of us." The motto, I mean. He's one of us. I think I am, you know. I mean, yeah, I got this fancy title and, you know, I've been around the block on all this a little bit, so I don't probably talk exactly like everybody does when I get on a rant like this and stuff, but I think I'm pretty much of them. Same thing. I just have these different experiences that they don't because of where I go. I go, you know, every week 2,500 miles that way and walk around marble and tile and stuff for, you know, 72 hours, then I come home again.
See, that's what I was going to ask you. Like, being out here, it seems like a completely different world.
Oh, yeah.
And then you go, you know, to Sacramento or DC. How do you still remain true to who you are here?
These are the clothes. These are the same clothes I wear on the plane to there and from there.
Really?
Yeah, I put on the suit when I walk in.
Well, except for your office when you're barefoot sometimes. But
yeah, at the end of the day, I take the shoes off, and people still come in like, "Hey, guys, don't excuse the feet here," but you know, because and so I guess that's probably part of why I'm one of the folks here instead of that.
We laughed a lot during that interview. And something else that really stuck with me is at the end of the interview, again, we spent a lot of time with him at the ranch, and I really grilled him on so many different topics. But at the end, he goes, well, I might as well give you one of these. And I was like, what could he possibly be giving me? And he gave me a hug. And I won't recap our entire conversation. That is now something that I'll hold close to myself. But pretty much what he told me is he said, thank you for being here. Thank you for spending time in my world, in my community, and thank you for the job that you do. And I think that moment has always stuck with me because truly it speaks to the type of man that he was. Still ahead on To the Point, a sudden freeze on billions of dollars meant for low-income families. The Trump administration alleges widespread fraud. And then we go to 1 year after the Palisades and Eaton fires, lives lost, homes gone, and many still displaced. How communities are remembering the loss tonight.
We've got one more system on the way for tomorrow, but then in the wake of that, high pressure is going to build back in, and we could be talking about Thule fog by this weekend. Forecast after the break.
New images tonight of Folsom Dam. The spillway is open right now. The Bureau of Reclamation says the dam is releasing approximately 21,800 acre feet per day. Maximum releases are going through the power plant for power generation, and the remaining are going through the spillway. The Oroville spillway is also releasing water. Let's get things over to meteorologist Brenda Minchuk with a look at our forecast.
Yeah, we've had a lot of water across Northern California since about Christmas, and you might be wondering how our local rivers are doing. Actually, they're fine. We're handling the water very well. You can see some of the weirs along the Sacramento River are flowing, but things are actually improving. Michigan bars back down from monitor stage to normal stage. So things are looking good right now. We are handling that water. Of course, we do have to conduct those releases, though, because things are getting full a little bit, right? Oroville is up about 75% of capacity, and we need to make sure that there's room for more storms because we're still in the middle of our rainy season with at least a couple of months still to go. 55 right now in Sacramento, 54 in Stockton, 57 in Modesto, 40s up in the foothills. As we look towards the capital city, it is 55 right now, same temperature as 24 hours ago. We'll be falling into the 40s as we head deeper into the evening and overnight hours. Clouds building back, an isolated shower potentially as we start Wednesday morning. Better rain and snow chances in the high country, though, for tomorrow, especially right at the passes. We could be looking at a few inches of snow through Wednesday and Wednesday night. High temperatures in the mid to upper 30s for the Sierra. We're going to be in those mid to upper 50s in the valley. So as we look at futurecasts, some clouds coming through, but you do see those showers showers, snow showers going through the high country tomorrow, especially as we get after sunset into the later evening hours. There's where those heavier snow bands are going to come through, but then we dry out as we head into Thursday. So not much in the valley outside of a very isolated shower, but we could be looking at up to about a half a foot of snow in the high country. This is a little passing system coming through on Wednesday night, but then that moves out. High pressure starts to build back in, and that means some stable air by the time we get to the weekend. This is called a sounding. It gives us an idea of what the atmosphere looks like as we go higher and higher in the atmosphere. But what we're really interested in here for Sacramento is what is the temperature and the moisture doing? Well, as we head into Friday, we start to see a temperature inversion as the high pressure builds in. This means very stable air. We see that continuing for Saturday and for Sunday, and we also see a lot of moisture right at the surface. What does that mean? That means that potential for Thule fog is coming back. It's not a guarantee. Fog is very, very hard for the models to pick up on, but all the aspects will be there. Wet valley soils and stable air overhead, Alex.
All right, Brendan, thank you. Coming up after the break, global backlash tonight as President Trump boasts about the Venezuelan operation and hints at what country could be next. And 5 years after the January 6th attack, the Trump administration is under fire for what critics call an attempt to rewrite the history of the Capitol riot. Welcome back in. The Trump administration is freezing more benefits for low-income families in 5 Democratic states, including us here in California. The freeze applies to about $7 billion for welfare. It also affects more than $2 billion for the Child Care Development Fund and millions for the Social Services Block Grant. The Department of Health and Human Services accuses the states of widespread fraud, but no evidence appears to support the claim. We will have more on this story coming up on Late News tonight at 11 p.m. Well, leaders around the world are speaking out against President Trump as he boasts about the operation in Venezuela and the U.S. capture of ousted President Nicolas Maduro. Big questions remain about what comes next.
This is how we get into endless wars. A one-day plan to get rid of Maduro, but no idea of what happens after.
President Trump suggests next he could target Mexico, Cuba, and Colombia. He also says he's eyeing Greenland, which is a territory of Denmark. Today marks 5 years since the attack at the U.S. Capitol, and the White House is now accusing Capitol Police of escalating tensions that day. The Trump administration claims the deadly attack was nothing more than a peaceful protest. ABC's Perry Russum is in Washington for us tonight.
On the 5th anniversary of the deadly attack at the Capitol, the Trump administration is attempting to rewrite history. A new page on the White House's official website mischaracterizes some of the day's events. From alleging protester Ashley Babbitt was murdered in cold blood and posed no threat trying to climb through a barricaded door, to accusing the Capitol Police of escalating tensions. Winston P. Jones is a former U.S. Capitol police officer.
5 years ago today, I was called a traitor, violently assaulted in the line of duty, punched in the face, pepper sprayed, and thought, I'm going to die here on the steps of the U.S. Capitol.
House Democrats today holding unofficial hearings they say sets the record straight. On Trump's first day back in office, he issued sweeping pardons and commutations for more than 1,500 January 6 defendants.
You refused Donald Trump's pardon. Why?
Because it was a lie. January 6 was an insurrection.
After storming the Capitol, Pam Henfield pleaded guilty to a misdemeanor charge and was sentenced to 60 days in prison.
I am guilty, and I own that guilt.
Former leader of the Proud Boys, Enrique Tarrio, was pardoned by Trump after being convicted of seditious conspiracy. He called for a peaceful march today in memory of Ashley Babbitt,
Thanks for the pardon, Trump,
who was shot and killed by police inside the Capitol.
A year ago, exactly a year ago, many of us were sitting in a jail cell trying to figure out if we were going to get pardoned or not. We did trust the president, but, when you're in there, you have to think about it.
During that demonstration, dozens of people marched to the U.S. Capitol pushing conspiracy theories about what happened 5 years ago. They were met by counter-protesters. Tomorrow marks 1 year since the Palisades and Eaton fires in Los Angeles County. The fire started on January 7th. Even though it's been a year, many people are still displaced from their homes. The Palisades and Eaton fires burned more than 37,000 acres and killed 31 people. Homes, schools, and businesses were all destroyed. A year later, people are holding a number of events to honor the victims, including candlelight vigils and a flag ceremony. New hope today for those wildfire victims. Today, Governor Gavin Newsom announced new actions to help survivors rebuild and also remain in their homes. That includes expanding access to the Cal Assist Mortgage Relief Program. The governor also announced additional commitments from banks to provide extended forbearance for approved borrowers. He's also going to explore new financing programs to help survivors bridge the gap between insurance payouts and the cost of rebuilding. Still ahead, Lego is going high tech at the futuristic edition with a fun Star Wars tie-in. Before we go, our next story is for all the Lego enthusiasts, and I can't even say enthusiasts. Really, if you know someone that loves Legos, they are complete addicts. They love this. This story is from my little brother who's probably building Legos right now because they actually unveiled, take a look at this video. They unveiled what it calls smart play bricks. Take a look at this. Like the regular Lego pieces, you already know they look like that, but they have these chips in them that can detect similar chips in other building blocks. That means that they can light up, they can make different noises when they're next to each other. And also the new bricks launch in March. They also have a tie-in for when they launch. They'll be featuring Star Wars, another thing my little brother loves, and I'm sure you do too at home. As always, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great night.